Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. It's Ruth Jones with the Office of Alumni Engagement at Mines, and welcome to our September Lunch Bunch program. It's great to see you guys. If this is your first Lunch Bunch ever, thanks for logging in and joining us today. And of course, we love seeing new faces every month. And welcome to those of you who are our regular attendees. It's always great to see the familiar faces as well. Today, we are shining the spotlight on the Fulbright program here at Mines, its recent history and impact on campus, the application process, and some examples of the kinds of research that our current Fulbright scholars are doing. We're really excited to have three people with us today to do just that. Dr. David Wright, who is our Assistant Vice President of Global Education. Ashley Wiebel, Assistant Director of Undergraduate Research Scholars and Nationally Competitive Scholarships. And current master's student, Maria Saavedra, who is from Argentina and currently studying in the Natural Resources and Energy Policy program as part of the Fulbright program. So David, Ashley, and Maria will each share their perspectives, their highlights, and of course, answer any questions that you guys have as we go along. And I think you all are comfortable with that, taking questions throughout as well as at the end. So don't be shy, raise your hand and chime in. As always, before we start, just a few quick reminders. If you do think of a question, of course, use the chat, unmute, speak up, whichever you're most comfortable with. We'll keep an eye on it. And if we run out of time and don't get to your question, we'll certainly circle back with you after the program. A reminder that all of our Lunch Bunch programs are recorded and can be accessed on the Lunch Bunch page of our alumni website, which is where you all went to register for today's program, which is at weare.mines.edu. So after doing Lunch Bunch now for almost 4 years, remotely, virtually, on Zoom, we have amassed quite an archive of programs. So if you missed one or you want to listen to one again or share a program with a friend, I encourage you to visit this page and check us out. We've built up quite a nice collection there, different topics, different speakers. And as always putting in a plug for ideas for future speakers. We want to know what's on your mind, who you'd like to hear from, and any updates you'd be interested in learning about. So let us know. Reach out to me or anybody in the alumni office. We're happy to make that happen for you. Okay, y'all, it's 12:07. Let's rock. Time to go. I'm really excited to welcome our speakers today, David, Ashley, and Maria. And with that, I will turn it over for David to kick us off.
Hey, hi everyone. It's great to see you. And thank you for your interest in the Fulbright program. And it's an opportunity for us to talk about that program, its impact on mines, and also just to let you know that that program is very important to the School of Mines. For the work that I do, it's within the Office of Global Education. And I've been working as the head of that office for about 6 years. And that office is bilateral in how it interacts with the community. And so we work to support the visas, the F and the J visas for all of the international students. So when you were students at Mines, you probably saw a lot of international students on campus, and it's my office that issues the J and the F visas. And in the same kind of way that we support those incoming students, we also help mine students that want to study abroad. So almost for every one student that we bring in, we also send a mine student out to another country. And so any student that wants to get credit at a foreign institution, do research, take part in an internship or something like that, we would be here to help them to make sure that they are properly oriented on safety issues, health, credit transfer, and for students that don't know where they could go, we also have a database of programs abroad that they can take part in. So that's just a little bit about me. I really wanted to start out today by hearing about all of you. And I have a few slides, but most importantly, I just wanted to ask you some questions from the get-go, just to hear from all of you. And could some of you maybe tell me a little bit about what you think the main goal of the Fulbright program is? So what are some things you know about it, and what are its objectives? Gary, I see you nodding. What were you going to say? All right, you're muted.
Yeah, if you want, turn your microphone on, Gary, unmute yourself. There
Yes.
you go.
I had not even heard of it prior to this presentation, so I was tuning in to learn about it.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Anybody else? I mean, I think my one of my questions was, has anyone in the group been a recipient of a Fulbright, or do you know someone who had a Fulbright? All right, this is the perfect audience because we're gonna share some new information.
It's a
This
clean
is
slate.
fantastic. All right, and then okay, well then here's a fun question for all of you. But I'm thinking maybe this is just still good for the introduction. So this is a good one to know from the get-go. How many countries around the world engage in Fulbright each year? And so if most of you haven't heard of it, you won't know that, but the number is really amazing. It's 140. So it's 140 countries. And with that, let me share my screen, and I'll just give you an overview of the Fulbright program. So can you all see this, Ruth? Does this look all right coming through on your screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so these were just some of the questions that I wanted to ask in the beginning. Gary, thank you for letting us know that today's the first day that you've heard about the program. What I wanted to share is, first and foremost, this program is funded by the United States Department of State and is one of the most competitive and prestigious scholarships available to students. It focuses on international exchange, and so it offers bilateral grants for students and scholars to study, teach, and conduct research. And I think the most important piece of information here is the word bilateral. So it's not just US students obtaining the scholarship and going abroad. It's students from all over the world receiving the scholarship to come to the United States. And the purpose of this scholarship really is about cultural diplomacy. So it aims to build mutual understanding between the United States and other countries through educational exchanges. And as I mentioned, Fulbright engages 140 countries every year. And this chart that I have here, I think is a good, also a good introduction to Minds. This shows you the number of master students that we've received coming to Minds on a Fulbright. And so this is the year that I started at Minds in 2018. And we had 3, and then the next year 4, and then we've had a little dip. This is really because of the pandemic, and just because international exchange during that time period was really difficult and challenging. And so these numbers say less about Minds than they do about the pandemic. And then once the pandemic was over, we rebounded in a very dramatic way. And in 2022, we received 12 incoming master students funded by the Fulbright program. And in 2023, we were at 13. And I think for 2024, we're at 14. So if you were just to imagine one additional bar here for 2024, the number would be 14. So the number of Fulbrighters coming to Minds is increasing. And when Ashley speaks a little later on, she'll tell you a little bit about the population at Minds that goes out and abroad on a Fulbright. And one point here that I think is important is that our next presenter, Maria, she is one of these 13. And so you will now hear from a student that obtained a Fulbright, somehow learned about mines and chose mines as her destination to play out that award. And so, Maria, maybe that would be a good way for you to start, is just how did you hear about Fulbright, and then how did you hear about mines, and how did you actually end up coming to Colorado? And I will stop
Thank you.
sharing.
Thank you, David. Hello, everyone. I'm just very happy to be here with all of you. As David and Ruth told you, I'm from Argentina. I got a Fulbright scholarship in 2022 to start my master's that I'm finishing this fall in natural resources and energy policy at Mines. The reason why I applied for a Fulbright scholarship is because this was the way to build my professional path with a master that was not available in Argentina. My bachelor's degree was in political sciences, and I wanted to develop energy policy. And this was not available in Argentina. And when I saw that Mines had this amazing program that would build a technical ability skills for policymakers, I thought that it was a great opportunity for me to come here. Right now, well, during my master's program, I did an internship in the Payne Institute, in the same building that I have my classes. And I developed, I wrote a paper that is going to be published regarding critical minerals and policy regulations from 3 countries, Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina, that has a great amount of lithium. And it is key for Argentina, but also for the United States to understand their policies. And right now I got another internship at NREL, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory here in Golden too, where I'm helping local governments from Latin America to understand the technical aspects and the technology transfer that NREL do here in the international programs. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity, and I think that Fulbright was a key element for my career path and to grow and specialize in an area that is amazing, and it's so key for the sustainable energy development and the carbon emissions. Thank you.
David, is this a good time for me to jump in?
Yeah, I think that's great. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Maria, for sharing us a little bit about your experience here at Mines. So hi, everyone. My name is Ashley Weibel. As Ruth mentioned, I'm the Assistant Director of Undergraduate Research Scholars, and I also lead our Office of Nationally Competitive Scholarships here at Mines. It's a fairly new office in its current iteration. I've been here at Mines for just over a year now, but our primary goal is to support undergraduate students, graduate students, and alumni throughout the process of applying to a select portfolio of competitive scholarships, fellowships, grants, and awards. And so we do that from start to finish, right? We are trying to nurture a culture of scholarship here at Mines so that students are aware of opportunities. We support students throughout the process of applying for scholarships and fellowships. We manage the process of institutional endorsement or nomination, if that's a part of the scholarship process, as it is for Fulbright. And then we celebrate our recipients of various awards. And so Fulbright is one of the awards that I work with. It's one of my absolute favorites. And so I'll talk a little bit more about the role that I have here at campus. I want to share a few slides just to help illustrate this. So I just have some photos here. This first slide you might notice is me in some of these photos. I first came to this work through my own Fulbright grant. I was very blessed to be able to go to Colombia for 1 year from 2019 to 2020, cut short a little bit when the pandemic hit. But I was on kind of the opposite branch of the Fulbright program as Maria is. And so I was a US student going abroad for a year to teach English at a public university in Colombia. I was in a city called Bucaramanga, and I was doing various things while I was here. You can see in that center photo that I was on a Portuguese English podcast that was put out to our public university campus. I was teaching in various classes. And so for the Fulbright US student program, which was one of the branches of Fulbright that I support in my role here at Mines, US graduating seniors and alumni go abroad to either teach English, as I did, to conduct independent research projects that they create and fulfill over the course of 10 months, or they can be pursuing graduate degrees abroad, so typically master's degrees at foreign universities throughout the world. And so this year I'm working with 11 students to submit Fulbright US student applications. Here's some photos of one of our previous recipients from a couple years ago. This is Ellie Miller. She's actually a current PhD student here at Mines, but before she began her PhD, she applied to Fulbright after her bachelor's, and she went over to Greenland and Denmark to conduct some glaciology research for 10 months before coming here to Mines. So she's a really great example of what some of our students look like who are going abroad. So to give a little bit more detail about my role here at Mines, Fulbright applicants are encouraged to go through an institutional endorsement process in their application to Fulbright, through which they receive Mines check mark on their application that they receive their support. And so I put together faculty committees of Mines faculty members to be reviewing student applications, providing feedback to help them move forward with even stronger applications, and then to make endorsement decisions on their applications. The second kind of half of my role with Fulbright here at Mines is I support our Mines faculty, so our US citizen faculty members here at Mines, to be applying to Fulbright Scholar grants, right? So in addition to the student grants, there are scholar grants for faculty members typically. And so here is one of our faculty members at Mines. This is Ryan O'Hare going abroad. He went to, I want to say, Australia or New Zealand a few years ago during his sabbatical year to be conducting research at a university there. And so for those faculty members, I also support them in their applications. Here's another faculty member who went abroad a few years ago. And then I also have some pictures from a while back of, this is one of, I think, last year's Fulbright foreign students who did their master's here at Mines, and some of his happy photos. So I just always love sharing some of the faces that you'll see associated with Fulbright here at Mines. As you can tell, we have a very robust community of US students, US scholars, and students and scholars from around the world who are all part of our Fulbright community. So I'll turn it back over to you, David. I think you're muted still.
Thank you, Ashley and Maria, for the overview. That was really interesting. I think right now it would be a good opportunity just to open it up for questions. What do you all think? And what questions do you have?
Hi, this is Kendra Lema, and my general questions are: how many Mines students apply every year, just generally, and how many are accepted?
Great question. So I'll jump in there first, just speaking for the Mines US students who are applying to go to abroad. Historically, we have not had great applicant numbers. We've typically had just a handful, 2 to 6 annually. Last year we had 2, and I think the years previously we had 2 as well. However, this year we have 11, right? So huge growth with that. I think a lot of it is my role is new here on campus, and I'm working to spread the word to make sure we get more students interested. And so I think moving forward, we can easily have 10 to 15 every year. Fulbright on the US student side is interesting in terms of, for your question around how many students are accepted. Some countries are extremely competitive, other countries are less so. And so there's kind of no easy way to say generally how many are accepted. I'll say over the past 15 years, we've had about 10 Mines students who were selected for the Fulbright US student program. So take that with what you will. I don't know, David, on David or Maria on the incoming side, how many we typically have.
I don't know the number of applicants, but I do have one quick slide that I could share that might also address this question, but for the state of Colorado in general. So can you see this
Mhm.
right here? So this is not for the School of Mines, but these are the number of applicants versus the recipients. So that's Colorado as a whole, and then we're a part of this.
And perhaps a helpful statistic as well is every year there are 8,000 Fulbrighters participating in the Fulbright program. So that's about 2,000 students throughout the US who would go abroad through the Fulbright US student program. I think that the number of foreign students coming to the US is closer to 4,000, and then the remaining 2,000 are comprised of those scholars coming to the US and going abroad. So a huge flagship program by the US Department of State. And in many cases, the funding reflects the mission, which is innately bilateral. And so much of that funding comes from the US Department of State. Much of the funding as well, depending on country, comes from those foreign governments as well.
Yeah, yes, I have a question. Are there particular disciplines that they're looking for in Fulbright scholars? And is it more scientific oriented, humanities oriented?
I would say it's very broad, that it ranges from the humanities and social sciences to engineering and STEM. And I think Maria, you're a really good example of that. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about your background? I mean, here you are at Mines, but your background is actually not in a STEM field.
Yes, David, as I mentioned before, my background is in policy, and but it's not the case for every Fulbrighter. Usually, each batch of Fulbrighters are mostly STEM, and a couple of us are from the policy perspective. So I think that it varies, but mostly are from STEM backgrounds. In my case, I think that I'm a few that comes from the policy perspective, and also at Mines, I'm a minority, of course, but I share many classes with engineers with different backgrounds, and I think that the interdisciplinary program that Mines has is great to learn from the technical perspective, and also for the engineers to understand the social science behind any project that has to be in place in a specific city, town, and deals with communities that may reject or accept projects. So it's very interdisciplinary, at least my program and my classmates. So it's diverse.
I'll just add as well, so I represent kind of the outgoing branches of Fulbright, and it's really interesting to see when you look at grant descriptions for each country, which students or scholars can apply to respectively. Each country will kind of show what its national priorities are in the types of disciplines that they're looking for specifically, right? So I'm working with a student this year applying to Iceland, and they're really interested in environmental sciences and glaciology and tourism, right? And these things that are really important to their economy as they're facing things like climate change, right? And to illustrate a couple examples, I think even Mines, though of course it is very STEM oriented, this year we have one of our applicants who is pursuing a master's in mathematics and statistics, but who has a background in jazz. He's proposing a very interdisciplinary project in Brazil in which he would be working with some immigrant communities there on kind of the intersection of intrinsic motivation for language learning to help them integrate into the community with music and the ways in which Brazilian music and their kind of unique immigrant countries as music can come together in some sort of multi-genre music event to be promoting social connection and intrinsic motivation in music. So very interdisciplinary research. And then of course we have another candidate applying to Norway to do research on PFAS, persistent pollutants in the environment, and creating kind of a database or library of information on those chemicals. So it certainly spans the spectrum.
Awesome. I see there's a question in the chat, Kendra, and David, you've already covered it, but maybe you can speak to that a little bit about the funding that Fulbright provides. Is it everything from soup to nuts, or is it just tuition?
I think it may differ slightly from country to country. Different countries have different levels of funding, so it's probably a generalization, but I think the goal is to provide a broad spectrum of support that would include the travel, even an orientation in the beginning, and the tuition at the host institution, plus housing, room and board, basically.
So I have a question. So, and this maybe Maria could speak to as well. When you are accepted to be part of Mine's Fulbright program, when you arrive on campus, are you assigned a mentor or an advisor? You're not just coming here, oh my gosh, where do I start? You've got somebody who's leading you through the process so that during your, you said a 10-month length of time, is that right? That you cover all the bases, and then
It's the entire master's degree for 2 years.
Okay. All right. So then you will be required, Maria, then to do probably a presentation, defending a thesis, a formal, at the very end, right?
Yes. Well, all the Fulbright scholarships are meant are only for professionals. So every Fulbright student, international student, would come already with a bachelor's degree, some professional path, and we are coming here to do a complete master's degree or a PhD with this scholarship. And when we arrive, well, we of course have our advisors as any student, but of course we have to get our own housing. I mean, rent an apartment or get roommates. The usual student life here in the United States, but maybe we are coming from farther.
Awesome. Madison, I see a question from you in the chat. Do you want to bring that up? I can read it for you if you would prefer, but maybe you want to chime in with that question.
Yeah, I was just kind of wondering your recommendation for kind of narrowing down maybe which country to apply to, because I know you're only kind of allowed to do one application per application cycle. And just how do you kind of decide or navigate all of the information that Fulbright has on their website, because there are so many countries, and then within those countries there are various different awards. So just kind of wondering how you maybe look for ones that are transportation focused or different things like that.
Yeah, I can start responding to this. In my experience, different students do different things, but it's usually a combination of one, if they are proposing research, for example, doing some research, reading some literature to understand where in the world countries are focused on that topic or have certain expertise in that topic. Relatedly, if you're doing a research project abroad, you do need a host affiliate, right? So essentially a research mentor in your host country at a host institution. And so often Mine's faculty have amazing international connections, right? So many of the students that I work with talk with Mine's faculty across campus to see who of them have gone abroad, who of them have international collaborators, and start with those folks. So sometimes it starts with kind of the research. Other times people are really excited to reconnect with a country that they have some family connection to or personal background with, or just a place that they've always wanted to go, or perhaps they are, a student in French or in Spanish, and so they choose based on personal interest in that way. And then when the stars align, those things come together and they find the perfect location. But I've definitely worked with students who take months and months kind of narrowing down country. It's a hard choice, and you're absolutely right. You can only apply to one country, one grant type per cycle. So you need to be making that hard decision.
Other questions?
How far in advance does a student need to apply? Let's say a Mayan student who wants to go abroad. I'm looking at what's your target audience? Are we talking about juniors and seniors?
Mhm. Yes, I can speak to that with working with Fulbright US students going abroad. So currently our students are in the process. They just finished interviewing with Minds committees last week, which means that they began their applications early summer for those that were smart, and late summer for those that were a little bit late. And for all of those students who are currently applying, who started this past summer, they won't be going abroad until September 2025 at the earliest. Some of them will be going abroad January 2026 for those countries in the Southern Hemisphere that have grant start dates that start a little bit later. So 12 months kind of at the least, which is why it's challenging for a lot of students. And they have to be seniors to be applying, such that they have their bachelor's in hand by the time that they go abroad. I also work with students who received their bachelor's 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and with current master's and PhD students as well. But you need the bachelor's in hand by the time that you go abroad.
How are you all marketing this program? I know we have so many scholarships and grant opportunities, the Honors and Scholars Program. There's a lot going on, but because of the international component, you've got, kind of two sides of things. How best, what have you found the best way to promote and encourage students to apply is?
David, do you want to start on the incoming side?
I think on the incoming side, probably the marketing is sort of handled by Minds' reputation abroad. Minds is so well known outside of the country. It's funny. You might meet someone in the U.S. who's never heard of Minds, but then you go anywhere in the world and you mention the Colorado School of Mines, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I know that. That's the #1 institute in the world for mining, right?" And so that's always a fun conversation to have with people outside of the country. But I do think that Minds comes up just on the list, the short list for students, because of the fact that we have an active Fulbright program and the Fulbright agency. So it's not just sort of students applying to Minds. They have to do that, but they hear about Minds through various organizations. So in the Middle East, there's one called Amid East. Here in the United States, we have the Institute for International Education. I think, Maria, you probably came through the Institute for International Education. And there are other Fulbright organizations that could help facilitate that. So these organizations that actually take the initial applications will also do outreach for Minds.
If I can add something, David, usually as a Fulbright student, you have to present a list of different universities that you want to apply once you get the scholarship. So the research regarding what program you want to do, apply to, and what university starts earlier before you even applied for the Fulbright scholarship. And sometimes it's a Google search. It starts with a Google search, and Minds website always appear up. And also, you usually ask former Fulbrighters what university they have, how was their experience, and this is the main way that you learn about Minds, because they are previous Fulbrighters that came to Minds and advertised for it. And at the same time, the Fulbright commissioners always give you feedback regarding the universities you want to apply, regarding what's your profile, and they recommended Minds as one of the top options. So I think that it's a blend of different approaches to have many students here, but definitely alumni, it's the most interesting, because they have the first-hand experience and they share it with you, because of course we are all very happy to be here and very thankful for the scholarship. So we are always trying to spread the word to so many students or professionals can apply and improve their professional profiles. Yeah.
So David, you mentioned that this year, 2024, we have 14 Fulbright scholars on campus. How many of our faculty are Fulbright, former Fulbright recipients? Do you know?
We have a ton. I used to have a number, but we have at least 30 in the past 15 to 20 years. So
Wow.
this year we have 3 faculty who are going abroad. Kevin Cash, who I want to say is in chemistry, Juan Lucena, who I want to say is the director of humanitarian engineering, I'm not positive, and then Anuj Chauhan, and I'm not sure what department he's in. And last year we had 4. We had Chris Dunn, Meenakshi Singha, Amy Landis, and Ryan Richards. So we have really, really strong numbers of faculty going abroad through the Fulbright program.
Wonderful.
When faculty members go abroad, do they go to teach, or is it to do additional research? Or
yeah, great question. So faculty can apply for any of the things you just mentioned. They can apply for research, they can apply for teaching, or they can apply for a combination of research and teaching. Many of our teaching faculty will apply for teaching. Many of our research faculty, tenure track faculty will apply for more so research or a combination.
Interesting.
Maria, I just have a question. Once you complete your program, what are your interests after that? What would you like to do?
Yes, in my program, I specialize in renewable energies. So what I'm doing here at NREL is to develop different projects with international funds in small communities in America. So my job to with governments for them to understand the technical aspects of the projects, like the how what's their demand, the energy demand, how subsidies impact in the energy demand, and what are the returns for the investments for the local community. So I hope I can keep that path and being able to work with in between, or as a bridge between the engineers and the policymakers in different countries. And also regarding, like I mentioned before, the lithium development, it's also a key point. I've been studying the different regulations from the lithium triangle, and I think that understanding how the regulations are would enable us to understand why in which country is better to invest sometimes, and maybe it is more difficult to, or I wouldn't say more difficult, but definitely it is key to understand the regulations in each country to make the best project possible. So I'm always trying to read all the regulations and trying to help advising different projects to for them to make the best of their investments, and of course to understand and not so they don't have to stop at one point if there something comes up. So it is key to understand the institutions sometimes to develop the best opportunities. Yeah, that's right now what I'm doing, and I hope I can keep doing when I'm back in Argentina, because all Fulbrighters, we have this academic training program where we can do these internships afterwards, and we can stay in the United States as long as our master's degree took. So my master is 1.5 years, and now I'm staying another 1.5 years to work here in NREL, and then I must go because I have a commitment with my country to go back, and it's something that it happens the same for the United States, like the American students, they have to go back to their countries to spread the word maybe, and also keep building this international and diplomacy affairs that it's key for all of us to understand the different points of view.
Maria, are you the only Fulbright scholar from your country here currently? And maybe Ashley, you can chime in. Of the group we have here, where are they all from? Besides Argentina.
So
They
Dave
are,
might be able to speak
sorry.
that a little
Yes.
bit better. Sorry, Maria.
I'm the only one from Argentina,
Oh,
but
okay.
a previous an alumni from my program who stayed for her PhD in critical minerals. She's from Myanmar, so it's very diverse. Yeah.
And I'll share for this year for our applicants, for example, we have people applying to Brazil, Morocco, Iceland, Norway, Uruguay, Taiwan, and several others that I will forget.
Wow.
I just put a little more information about the Fulbright. One question was how many universities are involved. So there are 140 countries and approximately 400 universities.
And is mine's kind of on the smaller end of that scale in terms of enrollment? I mean, I hear Fulbright and I think my mind automatically goes to the big public universities. I don't know, maybe that 400 group it runs the gamut of all sizes and kinds of
It
universities.
does. It's a very diverse group
Yeah.
of all different types of universities. I will say just one thing interesting about Mines is that, yeah, we are a smaller university, but percentage-wise, we are competing head-to-head with the big state universities like CSU and University of Colorado in Boulder. So
Sure.
our numbers are smaller, but percentage-wise, we are on par with our peer institutions around the country.
Do you all, does the cohort of Fulbrights who are here at Mines this year, and Ashley, maybe you and David can both speak to this actually, do you ever reach out to our friends up the hill at CU Boulder or CSU or other schools where we have students from similar countries? So do those schools have students from Argentina, for example? Or, do you ever get together and compare notes and network and, share experiences?
I'll just share that we're moving in that direction. This past year, we had, I think, the first annual, hopefully, Fulbright meet and greet reception here at Mines that brought together U.S. students, U.S. scholars, foreign students, foreign scholars together. So we're trying to create more of a community of Fulbright here at Mines. And I certainly meet with and connect with people in kind of my similar fellowship advisor role at CU, at CSU, to kind of learn best practices, to see what's happening at their campuses. But to my knowledge, we haven't yet brought people together from Colorado universities.
But Maria, as part of your orientation in the United States, did you meet other scholars from all over the world?
Yes, from the Fulbright program, there are several meetings, all of them virtual, where we do workshops to improve our networking skills and many other things that helps you to meet other Fulbright students from other different universities. But and there are also some meetings in person for example, like the Fulbright students from Colorado and the meetings in Boulder or in southern Colorado. So the Fulbright program has many opportunities to do networking and also meet the other Fulbrighters in your area and across country.
I have a question. One of the most impactful things at Colorado School of Mines is the Career Center and the Job Fair. Are the Fulbright scholars able to take advantage of that as well?
Yes, we can apply for many job opportunities and internships while our visa allows us. That may impact that sometimes employers want someone to stay for longer, so that may be a disadvantage for us. But in terms of internships, I think that we don't have any difficulties in comparison to other international students?
I might chime in real quick with a comment about career fair. Those of you who are familiar already know this, but we just had career fair on campus a few weeks ago. Over 400 companies on campus were here to recruit Mines students. It is the largest career fair of any career fair in the state, even though we are not the largest school. So I like to I like to boast about that. And it's always an exciting time. Many, many internships and full-time jobs are secured. By the time our seniors graduate, over 85% of them already have a job in hand when they're walking across the stage to get their diploma. And that percentage keeps growing every year. So it's an exciting time. So that happened in the fall, just a few weeks ago. And then we have another career fair in the spring. So anyway, a little bit of info there for those of you who aren't familiar. Anybody else
Maria had a comment.
Oh, sure. Oh,
Maria, I saw your hand. Your hand was up.
oh,
No, I'm sorry. I was congratulating.
clapping?
Yeah, I was
Let's all clap.
saying that the career fair was a success. It was
I
not.
thought you wanted
Go
to
ahead.
chime in there. Thank you. Okay.
Ruth, just to add to what you said about the career fair, when Paul
Sure.
Johnson first came to Mines, he came from ASU, 17,000 students in their engineering department. They only get 100 companies coming to their career fair.
Oh.
We're getting over 300 to 400.
My
So
goodness.
that really says something where Mines gets double or triple,
Yeah.
maybe quadruple the number of companies that want to hire a Mines student.
Indeed. And we've had to expand it to span over 2 days. So each day focuses on different industry. Day one is typically earth-related sciences, geophysics, petroleum, those kinds of things. Day two is focused more on high-tech technology, computer science, mechanical engineering. Yeah. And equally busy. Boy, the lines out the door were something else. And I I always feel sorry for those recruiters because they just all day long talking at their booth. I mean, all day long because the lines of students never end. And we typically our office will host a little happy hour for all of the alumni who come back to recruit on behalf of their companies, just to give them a chance to network among themselves and take a break. And well, on a personal note, it's kind of fun to see these recruiters come back, many of whom I met when they were students with a backpack and a down coat and flip-flops on. And then they come to career fair and they are all cleaned up and they look like $1 million. They clean up pretty well and they do great. So it's a lot of fun to see that come full circle. But Rod, you are absolutely spot on. The percentages are crazy. And even though we aren't the biggest school, we have the biggest group. And our program may not be as big as CU Boulder or others, but boy, people want to hire our students. In fact, the engineering program at CU Boulder is as big as our entire school. That gives you a perspective right there. So anyway, lots to be proud of, for sure. Does anyone else have comments or questions for Ashley or David or Maria before we start to wrap up? And Ashley, David, Maria, are there any things that you want to mention before we wrap and closing?
I mean, the only other piece would just be that the Global Education Office at the Colorado School of Mines tries to foster all things international. We serve as a clearinghouse for the university. We're not necessarily the ones that do the international work, but we help to facilitate it in a number of different ways. And I just wanted to open it up to all of you that if you have any questions or would like to learn more about global education, please stop by. I would love to speak with you and hear about your own international experiences, and share with you how we're trying to engage mine students internationally and to have them add that piece to their experience at Mines.
Very
And I
good.
think I would just add, finally, Fulbright is for everyone. So if you're at a place in your life where you can see yourself doing this, reach out. There's likely a program for you.
Very good. There's one last question I see in the chat from Ron. Ron, do you want to unmute and chime in?
How are you folks, or are you involved in International Day? Because when I was an undergrad, it was small, it was down in the bottom of the I Club, 60, 100 people, then expanded to like 3,000 over in the Green Center. I don't know where it's at now, but are you guys
Yeah.
part of any of that?
Yes, we help to organize it. It's basically run through the international student clubs on campus, so they're the main drivers of it. But I would say about 50% of the funding for the event comes from our office, and the other 50% comes from student life and student affairs and the different clubs and things like that. But yeah, we will be there front and center helping it come together this early November.
Perfect. Which day is it this year? Which date?
Let me double check. I can tell
A
you
lot
that.
of people that want to go. My kids grew up going there and they love it. And now I got grandkids going there and all that. So
Ah,
a bunch
wonderful.
of friends that want to go there, and maybe some folks from the university club downtown want to go. We got a lot of small entourage, I think.
Let's see if I have it listed already. I'm so sorry, I don't have the. Sorry, it should be right here front and center, but with us wrapping up right now,
Still top secret. So
I'm afraid I
I
can't do it. But it is in early November, and we are already preparing for it. So it is going to happen. But keep an eye out for one of those Saturdays in early November.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
And Ron, I can shoot you a quick email too, because I'm sure you'll be posting that in the Daily Blast when everything is ready to go. And as soon as I see that, or if I hear something, and David, you can let me know and I can reach out to Ron. So,
Thank you.
all right. Well, with that, let's say goodbye. I just wanted to thank you all again for joining us. And what a great program. I mean, I have always heard of Fulbright, but never really quite knew what it meant. And now I have a front row seat to everyone here at Mines who's involved. And I hope you all enjoyed it as well. So thank you to David and to Ashley and Maria. You guys are doing wonderful things. Before we sign off, and as I always do each month, I want to give you a quick plug for next month's program. And as you probably saw when you registered for this program, the next Lunch Bunch will happen on Thursday, November 21st. Mark your calendars, noon to 1, same place, same time. And our speaker is going to be Todd McLean. Todd is the managing director of the Mines Venture Fund, which was officially launched back in November 2023. And he works very closely, as does the entire program, with the entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem that is fast growing here at Mines. But the Venture Fund provides limited partners the ability to invest in startups that have an affinity for the Colorado School of Mines. And so Todd's going to walk us through how this fund was developed, its plans for growth, and how you can get involved. It's pretty awesome and new territory for Mines for sure. So again, plan to join us on Thursday, November 21st, noon to 1. It's on the Lunch Bunch page where you registered for this program, and we hope to see you. So with that, anything else for the good of the order?
I put the date in the chat, November 9.
Oh, there it is. Ron, did you see that? November 9th.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, rock and roll. Hey, thanks everybody. We hope to see many of you next weekend on campus for homecoming. It's a big do, 150th anniversary year, lots of special things planned. Golden will be electric next weekend. A lot of people here to celebrate. And if you're not able to celebrate, we hope you'll raise a toast in our honor anyway. Go grab a cold Coors Banquet and, sing our praises. Thank you so much. And thank you again to David and Ashley and Maria. And go Ore Diggers. Hope to see you next month.